It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. It's Friday, and I have dubbed this month Fucktober. Why is this month Fucktober? Because I've been saying fuck so much in fuck October, right? Fuck it. Just fuck October. Fuck it. Let's just get through it. This is supposed to be a good month. It's leading up to Halloween. Only Murders in the Building and Agatha All Along have been awesome. So Fucktober is not all fucking bad. Some of it's fucking good, but Fucktober. So don't forget, we are talking Eileen's aunt's house crowdfund. 38% there. We are getting there, but that's what I'm asking you. You know, if you like this content, to kick a few pesos that way. It is literally in pesos. So if you wonder why people are giving like 2,000 or 1,000, it's pesos, not dollars. So I'm going to do some from Monday, some from Wednesday, and try to go through it as quickly as I can because I have very little time to do Feedback Friday this week. It's been crunched. With the 5 things not to say to people with PTSD, somebody added the I've been through much worse or other people have been through much worse. I lump that into toughen up pep talks, but the commenter's right that it is sort of a related but separate thing of other people have it worse, which I treated as the you're so dramatic. So this is the thing about these lists. They categorize behavior. They lump them in. They apply taxonomy, and people are observing the same things, putting them in different categories, and that's totally fine. I actually like this sort of back and forth of refining the concept. This is part of the reason I do these videos. I enjoy this sort of feedback. Someone said, somebody said what it was about the hot mess thing. I'm not sure, commenter, about that. But somebody else said, what about don't think about it right now? I personally find that don't think about it right now it depends on how it's said, right? Because it can be a subcategory of don't take it personally, but it also could be just like, look, just get through this now. We can feel bad about it later. And that is sometimes something you have to do. So this commenter said they've had mixed results with that. And so that depends entirely on context. And like anything else, intent does matter. I assume that for the most part, people are coming at this with good intentions, even when I think they're wrong. But some people have learned some not great socialization. And with that segue, let's move on to the is it misogyny or is it projected negative self-talk? This one went much better than I thought it did. Bobby Calloway cracked me up with the comment, you don't have to be super smart. He's put sighs of relief from a guy who once put ice cube trays in the microwave. I have done that too. Check out Bobby Calloway's content. It's been fire lately. He's been doing some really, really interesting deep dive analytical videos on really cool, like pop culture stuff. Another person said, deliver me from girls' nights to turning to man bashing fest as husband boyfriend bashing is often just around the corner. Yep. Don't like those either. But this is what I want to talk about for the bulk of the video. There were a couple of commenters who talked about the hedgehog's dilemma, wanting to form connections and inadvertently driving them away. Get it, spikes, get too close. Another person put it as, how can anyone hope to find a partner given how anyone appears to be building ramparts and calling them boundaries? Yeah, that was a good one. And then someone said, and see, this is a sort of question that because it was phrased as a question, Like, it doesn't, it's valid, right? Is it gonna play devil's advocate for that bit about the guy bailing at the very start of the date? Isn't that just consent at play, that it can be withdrawn at any time? And if being an arsehole, if it means exercising your right to say no, you're right, commenter. It's the reasons that the guy said no, that when someone is putting looks, because they hadn't had enough of a conversation for it to be anything else, and instead of sparing her feelings, it's just not feeling it and leaving. That's the asshole part. It's not sparing her feelings. You have the right to go. Just be kinder about it. But also just the fact that it was purely on looks. In girl world, you'd never do that and have it be considered not shallow. You would at least, like, okay, he showed up. You at least get through dinner or the coffee, and then you get out of there. So that's, there's a sort of thing where respectful challenge answered, right? Clarification. That's awesome. That's Feedback Friday at its best. Now about boundaries. The idea of building ramparts and calling them boundaries, and then the hedgehog dilemma. When we talk about boundary work, we talk about lacking boundaries, healthy boundaries, which are flexible, and then I call them spiky boundaries. Other people call them rigid boundaries. The idea of a boundary that is too rigid is not a healthy boundary. Boundaries are below your limits, so you can be flexible. If you think about a boundary as a fence with a gate in it that you can let people into, sometimes you can see through the fence, you can talk through the fence. It's not a brick wall. That's a healthy boundary because it's that extra perimeter of this is my property. Right? It's not coming in your house. Someone can walk through your fence and walk up to your door to knock on the door, right? That's totally understandable. Rigid boundaries are a big brick wall around where the fence would normally be, which is ironically the way J.K. Rowling lives. The big old brick wall surrounding her castle, and people stood outside it, and she felt unsafe that 3 people who happen to be gender nonconforming were standing on the sidewalk outside the brick wall surrounding her castle. It was a public street. And that is a beautiful metaphor for somebody who is a hot mess and blaming everybody else for it, right? Oh no, it's not that she has some work to do. It's that everybody's dangerous, right? That's a boundary issue. And that's those ramparts I think people are, the commenter was talking about, or the hedgehog thing. You're just spearing people. And if your boundaries are healthy, I've been going back with this one guy in the comments, and I'm probably going to back off. I left one more comment on Wednesday's video because he seems to be getting upset, like actually upset. And I was just jousting with him to try to help him learn that, dude, you don't intend to be coming across dickish. You are coming across as dickish. But, I normally don't respond to comments, but every so often it's like, all right, this is a person I think just needs, a bit of a, come on, like a bit of a check and he'll be cool. But people don't seem to take it that way. And that's because so many people are walking around barely hanging on. And having healthy boundaries means, I called it on the It's Not Therapy podcast this week, healthy hurting. Something can sting, but you can recognize, no, this is a sort of unpleasantness, discomfort, or pain that is actually good for me, instead of abuse, neglect, or something that's draining me. Sometimes something stings because the person's right. And those are the ones where it's like, okay, take that. It is better for someone to tell you something to your face that hurts, for instance, than to find out they were shit talking you behind your back for months. Just as an example, right? Yeah, it hurts to hear that somebody doesn't like something you're doing, or, sometimes stop that, it's bothering me. There are better ways of saying that, but even somebody saying stop that, it's bothering me. Why are there better ways? It's very vague. But even someone says, stop that, it's bothering me, at least you know it's bothering them. And you can now make a choice about whether to stop doing the thing and stop bothering them, or continue to do the thing now knowingly bothering them, right? And that's where boundaries come in. If you have your own boundaries that you respect, that fence on your property that people can come in to knock on your door, but they have to leave your property when asked. You see how it works? You are more respectful of other people's boundaries, and other people's boundaries don't bother you quite so much. And that's, in short, how healthy boundaries work. And I have to keep this short because I have to run on to another client session. I'm doing these in between. But if you'd like more information on boundaries, because I do think that this is something that's very nuanced and very complex, and yet the basic premise of healthy boundaries being somewhat flexible, that's what's gotten lost in the Rampart Hedgehog theory. And now I'm imagining the John Cleese character from Monty Python and the Holy Grail as a hedgehog. My brain went furry. And that's a good place to stop for a week. So kick some bucks towards Eileen's aunt's crowdfund if you are so inclined. And otherwise, have a great weekend.